Hello vagina havers and curious others, I'm Nadia and this is the Adore Flow Show where we talk about everything related to sexual and reproductive wellness. Today I'm going to tell you how you can use the Fertility Awareness Method, or FAM, also known as natural family planning, whether you're trying to conceive, avoid pregnancy, regulate your menstrual cycle, or you just want to because it has so many amazing benefits. So I guess we should start with what exactly is the Fertility Awareness Method. Basically, by keeping track of simple things your body is doing throughout your cycle, you can identify when you're fertile and potentially able to conceive and when you're not. There are three main biomarkers or fertility signs that you're looking out for when you're tracking your cycle, and those are cervical fluid or cervical mucus, basal body temperature or BBT, also known as waking temperature, and then cervical position. Let's get started with number one, which was cervical fluid or cervical mucus, and that is exactly what its name suggests. It's fluid or mucus produced by your cervix. The purpose of it is to provide an ideal environment inside your vagina to protect and nourish the sperm and help them get to their destination. It changes throughout a woman's cycle, so paying attention to the presence and consistency of it can give you important clues about what's going on in your cycle. And here's a little clip to help explain that.
The typical pattern most women's cervical fluid follows looks something like this. After menstruation bleeding ends, there will be a few days of dryness. For some women, it's more of a stickiness. Obviously, your vagina isn't actually dry, but you'll see or feel very little to no discharge. If you were to insert your finger, it would feel like the inside of your cheek. These dry or non-wet secretion days indicate low hormone levels, which tells us ovulation is not close yet and is referred to as a woman's basic infertile pattern, or BIP. After a few days, the exact number being different for every woman, it'll go from dry to a noticeable presence of cervical fluid. This is due to the estrogen beginning to rise and is referred to as the woman's point of change. This is any noticeable change in the amount, color, or vaginal sensation and indicates ovulation is likely on its way. Your cervical fluid at this point might be sticky, tacky, rubbery, or flaky. You might notice your vaginal lips stick to your underwear, your discharge sits on top of your underwear rather than soaking in, it tends to dry streaky, and you may be able to roll it in a ball between your fingers. After this stage, it thins out even more, becoming more of a wetter, creamy, or lotiony consistency. It feels cool to the touch and may stretch a little up to about 3/4 of an inch before it breaks. The last and most fertile type of cervical fluid is the most known and easiest to identify because it looks like raw egg whites. It's usually clear, stretches about an inch, and causes a very lubricative vaginal sensation. It tends to soak in your underwear and leave a symmetrical, wet spot rather than sitting on top. It may become so watery that you can't actually see anything, you can only feel the lubricative vaginal sensation. Most women experience about 2 to 4 days of the egg white cervical fluid. After estrogen levels have peaked, cervical fluid tends to change quite abruptly, usually within a few hours, and that's because of the sudden drop in estrogen, plus the surge of progesterone as the egg is about to be released. After ovulation, non-fertile cervical fluid forms a plug that prevents sperm from going anywhere. Pretty much, it takes about a week of building up quality fertile cervical fluid, and then it all dries up in about a day. The lack of wet cervical fluid typically lasts the rest of the cycle, but some women do experience a wet or egg white watery sensation a day or so before menstruation, which is thought to be caused by the drop in progesterone before the uterine lining disintegrates. Remember, not everyone experiences this exact pattern, so if yours is a little different, no worries. The most important things are knowing your basic infertile pattern and understanding that between your dry days following menstruation and your fertile egg white days, there is a transitional period. Advanced situations such as anovulation will be discussed next week in a different video.
You want to be checking your cervical fluid every day throughout the day, and obviously the most convenient time to do that is in the bathroom. If you want to, you can insert your finger to check, or if you'd rather not, you can just examine what you see on your underwear. As we just went over, you're looking for color and consistency, but also sensation. So as you wipe, pay attention to how the toilet paper feels. Does it smoothly glide or does it feel dry? And as you go about your day, periodically check in with yourself just to notice any vaginal sensation. Does it feel particularly juicy or do you just feel nothing? The second fertility sign is basal body temperature, or BBT, also known as waking temperature. This is the temperature of your body at full rest, and to take it, you'll need a BBT thermometer. It does need to be a BBT thermometer specifically because a regular thermometer might not be sensitive enough to get an accurate reading. They look like this, and they're super affordable and very easy to find at your local drugstore or online. You want to take your temperature at the same time every day before you do anything like get up to pee or start scrolling on your phone. Some women's temperatures are a lot more sensitive than others, so it's really important to be very diligent and consistent for at least the first 3 months while you're getting to know yourself. Pre-ovulatory temperatures can range from 97 to 97.7, and then post-ovulatory temperatures are usually 97.8 or above. The temperature spike or thermal shift generally occurs within a day or so of ovulation, and that's because progesterone produces heat. Since progesterone is released by the corpus luteum, which is the follicle that previously housed the egg before it passed through the ovary, the temperature spike tells us that ovulation has already occurred. To show you what you're looking for when you're charting your BBT, I'm going to insert another clip right here.
This is what a cycle chart might look like. Of course, there are a few variations and more creative ones out there, but this one is simple and easy. You can find a free printout of this at tcyof.com. There also are apps you can just enter your temperatures into, but it's still nice to know how to do it. So let's break this down. It's important to remember that we're looking for overall patterns, not day-to-day fluctuations when reading our BBT results. As you can see here at the top, it starts with cycle day, and of course the most convenient day to start is on cycle day 1, which is the first day of your period. Under that, we have slots for the date, day of the week, and the time you're taking your temperature. We're going to skip the next 2 slots for now and move down to the waking temperature section. At the bottom of the section, it starts with 97 and goes up in tenths, so 97.1, 97.2, and so on, all the way up to 99. Every day when you take your temperature, you'll circle the number and draw a line connecting it to the previous circle. If your thermometer measures to the hundredth, just take off the last number, don't round up or down. So if it read 97.67, for example, your temperature would be 97.6. Like I mentioned previously, after ovulation, a temperature spike or thermal shift occurs and is usually obvious enough to spot just by glancing at your chart like this one. You want to really begin looking out for the spike once you notice your wet cervical fluid. The main reason you're charting is to identify when you have ovulated, and to do so accurately, you'll want to draw a cover line. To draw the cover line on your chart, you'll take the last 6 temperatures before your spike, and out of those 6, you'll take the highest temperature and draw your line 1/10 above it. Here you can see the highest temperature was 97.7, and the cover line is drawn through 97.8. Remember, many things can affect your temperature, such as stress, having a fever, or being hungover, for example. So if you have an outlying temperature that doesn't fit into the overall pattern, ignore it, even if it's part of your last 6 temperatures. Also, there are other types of temperature spike patterns that may not be as obvious. For example, the slow rise, where it rises gradually rather than a huge jump, the stair-step rise, where 2 to 3 small jumps occur, and the fallback rise, where it spikes, drops, and then continues to rise. Again, every woman is different, and it's just a matter of getting to know yourself and how you work. Now, getting back to those 2 slots I skipped, temperature count and luteal phase, and peak day count. In the temperature count and luteal phase slot, you'll put number 1 in the box, corresponding to the day your temperature spike occurred, and count the days until your next period. This is your luteal phase. Since late periods usually result from late ovulation, the length of your luteal phase will pretty much stay consistent from cycle to cycle. In the peak day slot, you'll write a P or a PK in the box your peak day occurred on. Your peak day is your most fertile day, and it's determined by your cervical fluid. It is the last day you experience egg white cervical fluid or the lubricative vaginal sensation. So, if the last day you saw egg white was on Tuesday, for example, but you still felt lubricative vaginal sensation on Wednesday, then your peak day was Wednesday. Your peak day usually occurs the day you ovulate or a day or 2 before, but you can only determine it after it has already occurred the following day.
The third and final main fertility sign is cervical position, and that is, yes, you guessed it, the position of your cervix. This is the hardest one to master, but luckily it's optional. It doesn't give you a whole lot of information on its own, but it can be very helpful if you just want extra reassurance or if you're having any trouble or confusion with any of the other signs. As ovulation approaches, your cervix tends to sit higher, feel softer, and open up. It goes from feeling firm like the tip of your nose to soft like your lips.
It's easiest to begin checking your cervix after ovulation when it's low and easy to reach. Throughout your luteal phase, it tends to feel firm, low, and closed. When you've gotten a good idea of how it feels during the luteal phase, you'll want to begin checking your cervix at least once a day after your period has ended, ideally at the same time every day. Make sure your hands are clean and fingernails are trimmed, then get in a comfortable position such as a squat, sitting on the toilet, or propping one leg up on the bathtub, for example, and then insert your middle finger. Remember, you're looking for how firm or soft it is, how high or low it is, and whether it's open or closed. Also note that if you have already had children, your version of a closed cervix will still feel slightly open.
And that's it. That's all you really need to know to begin your FAM journey. It's really not as difficult or intimidating as it sounds. But something important to add here is this is not the rhythm method. There's a reason the rhythm method gets such a bad rep and everyone says it doesn't work, and that's because it doesn't. For me, the most confusing part of this whole thing was how many names and versions of methods there seem to be. So I'm going to put in one last clip here of me trying to simplify that as much as possible.
The Fertility Awareness Method, or FAM, and Natural Family Planning, or NFP, are both umbrella terms for various methods of fertility awareness. Some of these methods include the Billings ovulation method, which determines ovulation using only cervical fluid and follows 4 main rules. The Creighton Model Fertility Care System, which also uses only cervical fluid but has very precise descriptions to follow. The Temperature Method, which uses only temperature tracking. The Symptothermal Method, which uses a combination of cervical fluid and temperature tracking. And the Justice Method, which is similar to the Symptothermal Method but focuses on holistic wellness and inclusivity for all. All of these methods have been tried and proven true. However, that is not true of all of the methods. Some methods that should not be used as birth control include the Rhythm Method, the Standard Days Method, the 2-Day Method, and cycle beads. The method you choose should be tracking cervical fluid, temperature, or both, and should not be solely relying on information from previous cycles.
You don't really need one of these specific methods, but I would suggest looking into them just in case it seems like something you might be interested in, or if you're interested in working with a mentor. Whichever method you choose, just remember to chart at least 3 cycles and feel fully confident in yourself before you decide to use this as your only method of birth control. I really hope this was helpful to you. If it was, please share it so someone else can see it. Till next time, happy cycling.